Good morning, everyone. So, today we will see the examination of precordium of the cardiovascular system. So, along with the general examination. So, in the last class, in the arterial system, I told you the pulse examination and blood pressure recording. In the later coming classes, I will tell you. And the venous examination, jugular venous pulse, it will be taught to you in the next coming class. So today we will see the precordial examination. So before going into the exact details, so just we will see what is precordium and the different lines which are present over the precordium. So precordium is defined as the anterior aspect of the chest wall that overlies the heart. And the major important lines we have to know are the mid clavicular line. Okay, see here mid clavicular line in the left side of the picture. So the latermost lines are the mid clavicular lines, and then anterior axillary line. So here in the right side of the picture it is the anterior axillary line, mid axillary line, and then posterior axillary lines. So three axillary lines in the right side of the picture, and then in the left picture we have seen the mid clavicular line, and then the sternal angle, the middle part, suprasternal notch. From that point the line which is extending is called sternal angle, and then beside the sternum is the parasternal line. Okay, so the middle one is the sternal angle, and then beside that or between the sternal angle and mid clavicular is the parasternal line. Okay, so these are the 5 lines which you have to know regarding the cardiovascular system: the mid clavicular, parasternal, and then sternal angle. And in the right picture you see anterior axillary, mid axillary, and then posterior axillary. So first of all, coming to the general examination. So for any clinical examination, first we have to start with the name, history taking, name, age, sex, all those things, and after that, after completing the personal, family, drug, medical, all those histories, we have to start the general examination. So general examination includes pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, edema, chylonychia, and generalized lymphadenopathy. And then vital data. Vital data is by recording the temperature, pulse, and then respiratory rate and blood pressure recording. Okay, so all these things we have to note for any clinical examination. So just a brief of each and every point of the general examination regarding the cardiovascular. The pallor of anemia is best seen in the mucous membrane of conjunctiva, lips and tongue, and in the nail beds. So many causes of anemia can cause sinus tachycardia and heart failure, which are hyperdynamic type of heart failure. And cyanosis, it is a blue discoloration of skin and mucous membrane caused by increased concentration of reduced hemoglobin. And central cyanosis may result from reduced arterial oxygen saturation caused by cardiac or pulmonary disease, intracardiac or extracardiac shunting. And the cardiac causes include the pulmonary edema and congenital heart disease. So all these names, don't worry, so these will come to you in general medicine. So central cyanosis is the result from reduced arterial oxygen saturation caused by cardiac or pulmonary disease. So the cardiac causes are pulmonary edema and congenital heart disease. And peripheral may result when cutaneous vasoconstriction slows the blood flow and increases oxygen extraction in the skin and the lips. It is physiologic during cold exposure. It also occurs in heart failure when reduced cardiac output produces reflex cutaneous vasoconstriction. So peripheral is the result of cutaneous vasoconstriction, so which slows down the blood flow and increase oxygen extraction from skin, and so that's why the skin will become bluish colored. Okay. And clubbing is painless soft tissue swelling of the terminal phalanges. You can see in the picture it is a soft tissue swelling of terminal phalanges. So congenital cyanotic heart disease and infective endocarditis are the cardiac causes of clubbing. So there are many other causes, but we are talking only about the CVS. Edema is a tissue swelling due to an increase in interstitial fluid. Pressure should be applied over a bony prominence like tibia, lateral malleolus, and sacrum. Cardinal feature of congestive heart failure is the edema. It is the most prominent around ankles in the ambulant patient and over sacrum in the bedridden. So where the edema is seen most prominently means around the ankles in the ambulant. Ambulant means walking patient, and over the sacrum in the bedridden patient. That is the dependent parts of the body. And in advanced heart failure, edema may involve the legs, genitalia, and trunk, and transudation into the peritoneal cavity, that is ascites, and the pleura, pericardial spaces may also occur. You can see this is a pitting type of edema. When we press the tissue against the bony surface, it will cause pitting of the skin into the pressed area. So this is seen in advanced heart failure. It involves the legs, genitalia, and the trunk. So now coming to the cardiovascular examination proper, that is area overlying the heart. It is the precordium. So precordial examination involves examining. We can divide the examination into 4 headings. So that is inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultations. So these are very important. These 4 points are present also in the respiratory system and abdominal system examination. And like this, in any clinical examination, we have to examine under these headings, then it will cover all the points. Okay, so first of all, what is the meaning of inspection? So we are not touching the patient here, only we are observing the area overlying the chest. And palpation means we have to touch and feel the inspectory findings. So in inspection, only observation, no touching of the patient, and in palpation we have to confirm whatever we have seen in inspection, confirm by touching. So that is palpation. We have to feel in palpation. And then percussion. Percussion means we have to tap over the finger, over the areas of the area, that is precordial area. We can divide into different intercostal spaces, and already we have said in the first slide, that is different lines. So along with the lines, we have to percuss over the precordial area to identify the borders of the heart. And then auscultation. Auscultation, as you all know, it is hearing the heart sounds with the help of a stethoscope. So the subject should be examined in recumbent and sitting position and in good light. And the examiner should be always standing right side of the patient. So first one, inspection. So in inspection, what are all the things we have to observe? So we have to observe or inspect for chest wall abnormalities and the position of trachea and the apex beat position and other pulsations which are visible over the precordial area, and any dilated engorged veins present over the precordial area, and any surgical or scars are present over the precordial area. So for these things we have to see or observe in the precordial examination, that is inspection. So from the foot end we can see the apex beat pulsations and observe it. So the first one, skeletal abnormalities, if any present, may cause precordial bulging. Okay, and pectus excavatum, that is funnel chest, and pectus carinatum, pigeon chest. Kyphosis, forward bending of spine. Scoliosis, sideward bending of spine, which may displace the heart and affect palpation and auscultation. So if any one of these are present, you have to note it down. So if suppose forward bending of spine is present, you have to note it as kyphosis or forward bending of spine is observed in the inspection part. So if nothing is present in a subject given to you, you have to write that no skeletal or chest wall abnormalities are observed. Okay. And then apex beat position, it is the apex beat is defined as the lowest and outermost point of the definite cardiac impulse that can be palpated. But in inspection, we are not going to palpate it, just we are observing the precordial area. So in thin people, we can easily see the pulsations over the left side of the precordium. Any other pulsations like arterial pulsations in the neck may be visible in hyperdynamic circulation like in anxiety, hyperthyroidism and aortic regurgitation and hypertension. And pulsations to the right or left of the upper sternum may be due to aortic aneurysm, and enlargement of right ventricle or enlarged left atrium due to severe mitral regurgitation may cause pulsations in the left upper parasternal region. And pulsations in the epigastrium are most commonly due to pulsations of abdominal aorta increased by emotional excitement in thin individuals and or enlargement of right ventricle, etc. And pulsations in the superficial arteries of thorax may be visible in coarctation of aorta. So other pulsations are because of all these reasons. You have to remember at least 2 points. So first one, visible in hyperdynamic circulation, that is arterial pulsations in the neck. And next one, upper sternum because of aortic aneurysm. Okay, right or left upper sternum pulsations are seen because of aortic aneurysm. Okay. And next, dilated and engorged veins if present are seen like this. So these are because of any major vena cava, that is superior or inferior vena cava obstruction, and one more reason is coarctation of aorta. And next, coming to the palpation part. So in palpation we have to confirm the inspectory findings. So we have to first, we have seen the apex beat in inspection, we have observed, we have idea where it is located. So by in palpation you have to confirm the position of apex beat by exactly locating it with your fingertip, and then position of the trachea and parasternal heave, thrills and direction of flow in the veins and presence for any tender points. And we have to first, before going to all this, we have to first feel for the temperature and any tender points over the precordial area. So rub your palms and then place over the different precordial areas. So you can see any temperature rise because of tumor or inflammation, and then by giving light pressure you can observe for tenderness. So apex beat is defined as the lowermost and outermost definitive cardiac impulse. Okay, so it is normally located in the fifth left intercostal space, half an inch medial to mid clavicular line. And enlargement of heart due to hypertrophy or dilatation may shift the apex beat. Pulling or pushing of mediastinum due to lung disease may shift the position of apex beat. So normal position is fifth left intercostal space half an inch medial to mid clavicular line. So this entire line you have to remember where the apex beat is located, means fifth left intercostal space half an inch medial to mid clavicular line. So if it is not present in this line, it is shifted to either right or left because of enlargement of heart or pulling or pushing of the mediastinum due to lung disease. And what is its character? It is a normal apical impulse, briefly lifts your fingers and is localized. Okay, so it lifts your finger and it is localized to that particular point, and it is diffuse, sustained, and most forceful thrust indicates left ventricular hypertrophy or hyperkinetic circulation. So the normal pulse, it only lifts your fingers and it is localized. But when it is diffuse and sustained and more forceful thrust indicates the left ventricular hypertrophy or hyperkinetic circulation. And a tapping apex beat may be seen in mitral stenosis. So it may not be palpable in some normal persons because it may be located behind a rib. and the chest wall may be thick due to fat or muscle, and emphysematous lung may cover part of the heart, pleural effusion and pericardial effusion, and dextrocardia. So these 5 points are very very important. Remember this. So where the apex beat is not palpable in some normal persons also, because of the apex beat may be located behind a rib, and the chest wall may be thick due to fat, that is obese people, and emphysematous lung may cover part of the heart, and pleural pericardial effusions, and dextrocardia means shifting of the heart. Ask the patient to lean forward if apex beat is not palpable. So in the first or second attempt also, if you are not able to feel exactly where the apex beat is located, you ask the patient to lean forward. So sometimes it may become palpable if it is, suppose if it is located behind a rib, and thick people, fat people. So in those conditions we can palpate when the person lean forward. So location of apex beat is very important. So first place entire palm over the precordial area, and then after observing or feeling apex impulse, so place the ulnar border. This is the second step, and then after feeling with the ulnar border, exactly locate the point with the fingertip. So these are the 3 important steps in locating the apex beat, which is very very important. So after locating the apex beat, blindly mark with X mark and then check its site on the percussion part. And the next is parasternal heave. So palpate with the ulnar border of your hand over the left parasternal line, and it is present in right ventricular hypertrophy. So parasternal heave is present in right ventricular hypertrophy. So we have to palpate the ulnar border of hand over the left parasternal line. So, and the next one is thrill. It is a palpable murmur. It is produced when blood passes through a narrowed wall or when there is abnormal blood flow, as in congenital defects, or if the blood flow is rapid. So we can feel as a worm moving under your hand. So it is produced when blood passes through a narrowed wall or abnormal blood flow, as in congenital defects, or if the blood flow is rapid. In all these conditions, a thrill is palpable. And direction of flow in veins is in superior vena cava obstruction. The direction of flow in veins is from above to down, and in inferior vena cava obstruction, below to up. So after locating the apex beat, the next important one is the parasternal heave presence. So place your ulnar border of the hand on the left parasternal line, and then feel whether your hand moving up or down with the heartbeat. So if there is any LVH present, then only the hand will move up or down. Otherwise there is no parasternal heave, that is hand will not move. And next one is percussion. So rules of percussion you have to know before doing the percussion. So place the palm of your left hand on chest with your fingers slightly separated, and press the middle finger of your left hand firmly against the chest and aligned with the underlying ribs over the area to be percussed. So alignment means it should be parallel to the underlying ribs, that is the intercostal space, and it should be over the area to be percussed. Strike the center of the middle phalanx of your left middle finger with the tip of your right middle finger. Okay, so the center of the middle phalanx of left finger, which is placed over the intercostal space, should be tapped with the tip of your right middle finger. The swinging movement of wrist and not the forearm. So there should be movement at the wrist joint and not at the forearm. Remove the percussing finger quickly after giving a one tap. Okay, so don't go on repeatedly tap over the left finger which is placed over the percussing area. So only give one tap and remove the finger quickly. So the tapping finger is called percussing finger. And the sound, the percussion should be always carried out from resonant area to dull area. Okay, so first here place over the resonant area and then go to the dull area. Here for the note, that is the note when you tap, feel that whether it is dull sound or resonant sound or tympanic sound. So all these are the rules of percussion. So percussion for the borders of heart is carried out in the cardiovascular system examination. So we have right border, left border, upper and lower border. So for all these borders we have to percuss over the precordial area of the chest. So starting from the resonant to dull area. So we have to start from the lateral to medial side so that we can trace out the left border, right border, upper and lower. So the right border of heart is formed by the right atrium which lies behind the sternum. So that's why we can't exactly locate or determine the right border of the heart because it lies behind the sternum. And left border of the heart, so the position of the apex beat should be first located, and percussion is done in the fifth, fourth and third intercostal spaces starting in the left mid-axillary line and going towards the heart till the note changes from resonance to dullness. Okay, so first locate the apex beat and then start the percussion in fifth and then again fourth and then third starting from the left mid-axillary line towards the heart. So you can hear the note is changing from resonant to dullness. And the area of cardiac dullness increases in the pericardial effusion while it may be decreased in emphysema. So while doing percussion, first thing we have to do is identify the sternal angle, and along with it the parallel line is the second intercostal space. So identify the second intercostal space and then starting from the resonant to dull area, tap with the left left middle finger, and then the right middle finger will be the percussing finger. With the tip on the middle phalanx of left finger we have to percuss. So for percussion, we have to identify the borders of the heart. So right border is difficult to determine because it is present behind the sternum, and then left border we can easily identify. So first always on the left side we have the apex beat. So start from the second space, go to the third, fourth and then fifth space, and in the fifth space, so second, third and then fourth and fifth space. So in the fifth space identify the apex and go towards the mid axillary line, and in the mid axillary line with the middle finger of the left hand and with the right finger, the percussing finger, come towards the medial side towards the heart till you hear the dull note. So likewise same thing you do above, that is fourth space and then third space. So if the same thing should be repeated in the fourth and third till you hear the resonant converting to dull note. So we can mark the points, and then if you join the points we get the left border of the heart. And then after the left border, the upper border can be easily identified or determined. So for the upper border, again identify first the second intercostal space, and then in the mid clavicular line, so percuss in the second intercostal space. From there don't go either to lateral or medial side. Okay, so identify the angle and second space in the mid clavicular line in the second space, and then go to the third and then percuss and then fourth. So likewise till you get a dull note. So in that mid clavicular line where in which space you are getting the dull note, that is the marked or lined as the upper border of the heart. And after that the lower border of the heart, it is again difficult to determine because it is covered by the diaphragm and the left lobe of the liver. And next last one is the auscultation for heart sounds. So there are four auscultatory areas: aortic, pulmonary, tricuspid and mitral. Okay, so four areas first we have to locate, and then we have to hear for the S1 and S2 hard sounds. Okay, so first mitral area is exactly located near the apex beat only. Okay, so first identify the mid-clavicular line, half an inch medial to mid-clavicular line is the apex beat. So at that area we can identify it as a mitral area. And at the lower part of the sternum in the same left fifth intercostal space we have tricuspid area. And again in the second intercostal space on the right side we have aortic, on the left side we have pulmonary, both are near to the sternum only. So the first sound corresponds to mitral and tricuspid valve closure at the onset of systole, and the second sound corresponds to aortic and pulmonary valve closure following the ventricular ejection. And auscultation has to be listened with your stethoscope diaphragm. At each site, identify the S1 and S2 sounds, assess their character and intensity, note any splitting of the second heart sound, and palpate the carotid pulse to time the difference between any difference between S1 and S2. So S1 barely precedes the upstroke of carotid pulsation, and S2 is clearly out of phase with it. Okay, so when you are hearing the carotid pulse exactly while you are also listening to the heart sounds, you can say that it is S1 when it precedes the upstroke of carotid pulsation, and S2 is out of phase with the carotid pulsation. So that's how you can tell the S1, we can differentiate the S1 and S2 sounds. First heart sound, also called lub, it is caused by the closure of mitral and tricuspid valves, and it is at the onset of ventricular systole. It is best heard at the apex, and it is prolonged, that is 0.15 second, and of low pitch 20 to 40 Hz only, and normally splitting is not heard in the first heart sound. And second heart sound is caused by closure of pulmonary and aortic valves, that is at the end of ventricular systole, and is best heard at the left sternal edge, and it is shorter compared to the first heart sound and high pitched. Okay, so the difference between S1 and S2 is a short time duration and the pitch. The auscultatory areas are mitral, tricuspid, aortic, and pulmonary. Mitral and tricuspid are in the left fifth intercostal space. Mitral is exactly near the apex area, so left fifth intercostal space in mid clavicular line. And tricuspid is, it is again on the left fifth, but it is at the lower end of the sternum. So easily we can identify the area, and then we have to put the stethoscope and listen for the heart sound. So in mitral and tricuspid we can hear the S1 sound very much prominently. And then the aortic and pulmonary areas. Aortic is on the right second intercostal space 2 centimeter away from the sternum. Okay, so identify the sternal angle and then go to the second intercostal space 2 centimeter away from the sternum. We can identify the aortic area on the right side. So pulmonary area is also on the second intercostal space, again 2 centimeter away from the sternum, but on the left side. Okay, so the difference between aortic and pulmonary is one is on right and other is on left. So right side aortic, left side pulmonary. Here we can hear the second heart sound very much prominently. Added sounds in auscultation are opening snap, ejection clicks, mid-systolic clicks, pericardial rub, and pleuropericardial rubs. So murmurs are produced by turbulent flow across an abnormal valve, septal defect or outflow obstruction. And you have to know timing, duration, character, intensity, location and radiation of murmurs. So this is very important in final year, that is general medicine. You will be knowing all these things, but here first year you should know the definition and what are the things. Okay, so timing, duration, character, intensity, location, and radiation. So I'm not going into detail of all those. So it is murmur means it is produced by turbulent flow across the abnormal valve or septal defect or outflow obstruction. So that's all, the complete examination of cardiovascular system. So in representing in the examination, you have to write like this. Okay, start with the name, age, sex, and all those, and after that history taking also should be present, and then general physical examination. So this first point you should write young patient, young or old, the age of the patient, which he or she is moderately built and moderately nourished, well oriented to time, place, and person, conscious and cooperative. So after writing this line, you have to mention all these things, and then going to the examination of precardium. So the points which I have shown you in the previous slides, those points you have to write in a sentence form. So the trachea is central in position, no skeletal deformity, no dilated or engorged veins, apical pulse not seen or seen at left fifth intercostal space, and no scars or other visible pulsations. So these 5 in inspection, and then palpation you have to exactly write where it is felt. Apical impulse or apex beat felt at left fifth intercostal space and is of normal character. Trachea centrally placed, no tenderness, parasternal heave absent, and no thrills present. And percussion, all the borders of heart normally located, and left border clearly percussed, dullness noted from left second medial to parasternal line to apex. So right and lower borders we can't exactly locate, but left and upper border we can clearly percuss and locate. And auscultation, so like this you have to write. So finally we have to give a report as the cardiovascular system of the subject is normal. Okay, so like this you have to write in the examination. So starting with the name, completing till the auscultation, all these points as it is you have to write down. So note in your paper, or if you are having record book, directly you can note down in your record books. So thank you all.